Maxine. Oh, I don't know how I've managed to go the last few months without talking about Maxine Waters. It's been a good run. Anyway, she's back with a vengeance. She's been in the news cycle. I just often choose not to cover her, but she's back in a way that I feel compelled I must tell you about. When I tell you that people really don't want Donald Trump winning, I'm not kidding. Like, I'm really, really not kidding. And that's everyone, right? Like, that is the establishment. That is half the country and all the people at the top of the food chain, so to speak. Like, the 1% of the world, really, really, except for a small minority, they just don't like him. And they're willing, as I see it, to kind of go to great lengths to make sure that you don't dare step out of line. Oh, there was a great soundbite. I'll play it tomorrow for you of Nancy Pelosi getting all after one of the MSNBC anchors because she dared just sort of say, well, hey, poke a few holes in the narrative that the Democrats have. And Nancy went berserk and said, well, whose side are you on? Well, by the way, a journalist shouldn't be on anyone's side, frankly. All right? Like, they really shouldn't. I happen to be a commentator. I am a journalist, a longtime journalist by background, still consider myself one, but one who's very open about how she feels and will tell you exactly what she thinks and how she feels. It's kind of the new age that we're in, right? Reminder, subscribe to the show, subscribe, hit the like button, share this. It's really important. This is the new medium, if you would, ladies and gentlemen. This is how I think the future really is going. And so, in the old days, you got to say this and say that and temper everything. Well, I'm not tempering anything anymore. There's no prompter. I'm off script. And I'm giving you exactly what I think from a journalist perspective and from somebody who has covered the economy and politics and policy for a long time. So Maxine, this woman is, she's so out in left field. Years ago, I could remember watching her when I was on CNBC, and it was really painful because she must have been on the House Finance Committee, and she would ask questions of then Fed Chair Ben Bernanke. Now, maybe he deserved it. It was like a special form of torture. And she'd ask him questions on the economy, and they were just so beyond awful. I mean, like basic stuff that clearly she didn't understand. But then again, she didn't even know who he was. I remember the day that she was like, wait a second. And then she got them confused. It was John Paulson, who was Treasury Secretary at the time. Then there's Ben Bernanke, and I guess just another white guy, right? She's like, oh, the other guy. She didn't know who Treasury Secretary was. She didn't know who the Fed chief was. She didn't know anything. And she still doesn't really know anything. And it's shocking that someone like this could have such a position of power. So her frame of mind is just to constantly be on the attack. Before I show you what she said today, just to keep in mind who she is, what she represents. Remember what she was saying? Trump's not my president. He's not my. I mean, she was one who was a complete election denier. The Russians stole it, et cetera, et cetera. She somehow could get away with it. Nobody else could. And then she actually was trying to incite violence back in the day. I mean, how else would you think about this? Can we play this, Drew? This is vintage from a few years ago. Maxine Waters.
We want history to record that we stood up, that we pushed back, that we fought, that we did not consider ourselves victims of this president. You have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants, who have protesters taking up at their house, who saying no peace, no sleep. No peace, no sleep. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
I mean, how is that okay? How is that ever okay? That's one side doing that, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, she got her wish. That one came true because do you remember when the head of Homeland Security was basically verbally attacked while out to dinner with her husband at a Mexican restaurant? Just people were making a beeline for her, attacking her verbally. I mean, Sarah Huckabee Sanders went through the exact same thing. The former press secretary for Donald Trump, now potential VP candidate. We'll see. Anyway, Sarah Huckabee Sanders was out with her husband and her in-laws who happen to be Democrats, by the way, and she was thrown out of a restaurant. The sweet irony of that is that restaurant wound up going out of business. But I mean, thrown out of a restaurant, people wouldn't even serve her because, Maxine Waters says, you go after them. You go after them with everything you got. You see them in a department store. You see them. I mean, how is this representative of the United States of America in any way? It's not, okay? It's just absolutely not. So think about the in her head when I show you this next clip. She just went on MSNBC and is really saying crazy stuff. I'm not even going to give you any preview. You just have to hear it because it's just that crazy and it's that weird. And nobody calls her out for this.
This is a man who we'd better be careful about. And I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask the Justice Department and I'm going to ask the president to tell us what they're going to do to protect this country against violence if he loses. I want to know about all of those right-wing organizations that he's connected with who are training up in the hills somewhere and targeting, what communities they're going to attack.
I mean, that's kind of a big allegation, don't you think? To suggest that there's somehow militias out there that are training. I mean, you know what happens when people talk like that? It's what effectively becomes like the little boy who cried wolf, right? When you keep saying this over and over and over and over again, oh, he's going to shut down the country, he's going to shut down democracy, he's going to become a dictator. They keep saying this over and over and over again. And then you're like, but wait a second. Like, let me think back to those 4 years. Okay, let's go back to when Donald Trump was president of the United States of America. We actually had an economy that was thriving. In fact, median incomes, they were the best they had been. They had grown the most that we had seen in, some 50 years, right? You go all the way back to the JFK days to see anything that was quite like it. You had a more secure border. You had economic growth. Wow, lots of economic growth other than the quarter in which we had March 2020, but we sprung right back. So we had all kinds of good economic policy in place. We had a peaceful enough world, right? We weren't looking at what we're looking at going on overseas, such as what we're seeing today. And so people are reminiscing about, gosh, things were pretty darn good. And so you can't allow that, right? If you're one of the Democrats, you can't allow that. That's why you have to say, okay, they go forward with the whole J6 narrative over and over and over again. He tried to have a coup. He tried to become a dictator. And then people are like, I'm not so sure about that. Isn't that Nancy Pelosi's daughter's footage that you keep showing me over and over and over again? But I am sure that, you know what? I'm paying more to fill my gas tank. I'm paying more to buy a dozen eggs. I'm paying more to feed my family or to go anywhere because transportation costs are up, gasoline costs are up. Everything is up. I mean, it's wild. I was actually ordering on Uber Eats last night, Sunday night, and I was like, wow, like these prices are high, like really high. I'm pretty sure I remember ordering just like a few years ago and they were nothing near this. Everything's gone up, okay? Like that's just the reality. So they can spin it however they want. They've got a situation in which people in this country do not feel as though they are in as good a place. And they're not. Right? It's one of the reasons why I keep saying to everybody, hey, make sure you take charge of your own future. Don't rely on these schmoes and these clowns because you need to make sure that you're prepared for your future and your retirement one day. And I don't care if you're 2 years away, you're 5 years away, you're 10 years away. I don't care if you're already in retirement. You got to start taking this stuff really, really, really seriously. It's partly why I founded 76 Research. It's my financial research company, financial newsletter company, together with my good friend Rob Horton, whom I've known for many, many years. And we're very like-minded. He has had a long, long historic career on Wall Street. I mean, he's not that old, but, a couple of decades anyway as a stock picker and just done an extraordinary job managing billions of dollars. And I said, Rob, you know what? What if we could take all of your knowledge combined with my macro sensibility, right? I've been covering the economy for so many years. Started out actually at Goldman Sachs. So I was trading a lot of emerging debt markets back in the day. And I said, what if we take this together and we really put together a product that can help people plan for their future? So we have, for example, model portfolios. It is our strongest offering where there's an income builder. There is an American growth, American resilience portfolio. There's also an inflation protected portfolio. So you can get all the research and all the names, specific names for each of these portfolios by going to 76research.com. Just go up to the top there and click on the model portfolios and subscribe to one because I want to make sure that you're ready for the future. This is the information that I can arm you with to help make sure that you're ready for that future, whatever it may be. And, there's roughly 10 to 15 stocks in each one of these portfolios. They change from time to time, but Rob and I are big believers in buying and holding for the long term and making sure that you get in at the right levels. So, for example, one of the stocks that we recommended maybe about 4 weeks ago has actually gone up nearly 14% in that time period, which is great. I mean, the market is basically flat, and our stock pick, which we felt at that time you were getting in a very good valuation, is now up 14%. So what I'm saying is, you put a couple of smart people together and you take my audience, this is my thinking anyway, which is all of you guys, we have the ability to actually cut through all the Wall Street noise, right? Like there's no conflicts. There's no one saying you got to do this, you got to do that. Oh, we're involved in this IPO, so you got to recommend this stock or that stock. This is just purely what Rob and I know to be true. These are the companies for your future. So go check out 76research.com, sign up. There's lots of free stuff there. You can sign up for the free stuff. You can get the 76 report and you can get those model portfolios, which are key.